I'm Jennifer, and this is the story of how I found myself at a crossroads. A point in my life where everything I thought I knew about myself, about my marriage, about my desires, was called into question. It all started with a leaky faucet, but trust me, it turned into so much more than that. I've been married to Mark for 15 years, 15 years of routines, comfort, and predictability. Our relationship is solid, or at least I used to think it was. The truth? It's been a long time since we were truly connected, at least in the way we were when we first met. I remember our wedding day so clearly. Mark was the guy I thought I'd spend my whole life with. He was steady, reliable, kind. But as time went on, something started to fade. The romance, the passion, the spark. It didn't happen overnight. It was gradual. First, it was the lack of intimacy, then the growing distance in our conversations. Now, we barely talk about anything deeper than the grocery list. I don't want to sound ungrateful. Mark's a good husband. He provides for our family, takes care of things around the house, and loves me in his own way. But I feel invisible. I'm just his wife, the mother of our children. There's nothing more. And it's hard to admit this, but I miss feeling wanted. I miss feeling alive. It started with the faucet. A simple thing, just a drip. But the noise of that drip every time it echoed through the kitchen became unbearable. Mark's always so busy with work, and honestly, I didn't want to bother him. He wouldn't have noticed anyway. I needed something to distract me, something to do. So, I called the plumber. I know it sounds silly, but it felt like a small act of rebellion, reaching out for help. It wasn't just about the faucet anymore. His name was Alex. I don't even know why I remember it so clearly, but I do. He was in his late 20s, with sharp features and a quiet confidence. He wasn't overly handsome, but there was something about him, something magnetic. When I opened the door, I could feel his gaze on me for just a second longer than usual. It was fleeting, but it made my heart skip a beat. I made small talk while he worked, talking about the house, the kids, the usual. But the more we talked, the more I felt like I was actually seen. He asked about me, really asked, like he cared. He was listening, truly listening. And that was something I hadn't experienced in a long time. Mark had stopped listening a long time ago. As Alex worked, I kept finding excuses to go into the kitchen just to be near him, to see him smile when he answered my questions. It was harmless, I told myself, but each moment spent in his presence felt like a drug, an addictive, dangerous drug. When the job was finished, Alex stood up and wiped his hands on a rag. He smiled at me, and there it was again, the way his eyes lingered. I tried to push it aside, but I couldn't. I wanted him to stay longer, even though I knew he had to go. Before he left, he said, "If you ever need anything else, don't hesitate to call." And for a second, I felt like there was more in his tone, an unspoken invitation. It wasn't just professional anymore. I couldn't shake the feeling. He wasn't just another guy. He made me feel something I hadn't felt in years, like I wasn't invisible. Like I wasn't just a wife, a mother, a caretaker. I was me. And I wasn't sure what to do with those feelings. And then, a few weeks later, it happened. A text. "How's the faucet?" It was innocent enough, but it triggered something inside me. I didn't know if I was ready for what came next, but I needed to know what it felt like to be desired again. And that text, it was the opening I'd been waiting for. We started texting more. At first it was casual, then it became flirty. I found myself looking forward to his messages. I told myself I was just curious, just enjoying a little harmless attention. But deep down, I knew I was treading dangerous waters. It was like walking a tightrope, and every step felt like it could be my last. The first time we met up, it wasn't planned. He suggested it casually, saying he'd be in town and thought we could grab a coffee. I was nervous, terrified actually. What was I doing? But when I saw him, all those questions disappeared. We talked for hours about everything and nothing, and I realized I didn't want the conversation to end. I wanted more. It wasn't long before I invited him over. I justified it by saying it was just to talk, but deep down, I knew why I was inviting him. I wanted to feel alive again. I wanted to feel wanted. Mark had been distant, working late every night, consumed by his job. I was alone in a marriage that felt more like a roommate situation than anything romantic. The first time Alex came over, I can still remember every detail. He walked through my door and the air felt charged. We talked, and it felt right. But then, everything shifted. I don't know how it happened, but one moment we were talking, and the next, we were kissing. I didn't stop it. I couldn't stop it. It was like I had been holding my breath for years, and now I could finally exhale. The guilt hit me like a wave. I had crossed a line, and I knew it. But I also knew I couldn't undo it. For the first time in years, I felt desired. I felt alive. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional. I had let myself be seen, and now I couldn't walk away from that. After that night, I was consumed by guilt, but at the same time, I couldn't stay away. Alex texted me, asking if we could meet again, and I couldn't resist. I knew it was wrong. I knew I was risking everything, my marriage, my family, my future. But in those moments with him, I felt like I was finally me again. Not just a wife, not just a mother. And now, here I am, caught in a web of my own making. I don't know how this will end. I don't even know if I want it to end. I'm lost in this feeling, in this pull between what's right and what makes me feel alive. I'm not sure how much longer I can keep living this double life, but the more I see Alex, the more I question everything. My marriage, my choices, my future. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But I know I can't go back to the way things were. Not now. Not after this.